Good morning. Awake, 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 and all the night of grace. Awake, 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 and love is leading the way. Awake, 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 ready to create. I am awake.
Oh, that's so good.
I'm awake now.
It's good to know that I'm awake. And this is our wonderful live stream. I'm so glad you've joined us. I'm Reverend Gary Kanye, and this is Reverend Maggie Alderman, and we are blessed by having the Unity Singers here on this glorious Sunday in June. And Unity is a spiritual community. And we foster personal transformation for healing, for wholeness, and for that intimate connection with the divine. We do this through affirmative prayer and meditation that opens us to realize our oneness with God. Now, we honor the light that lives in all religious and spiritual traditions, for we know the light shining through every stained glass window, through every mosque, dome, through every cathedral or temple or church tent is the very same light shining in us. And we call that light God. Now we know that what we experience is based on what we say and what we believe. But when we say what we believe with conviction, with gusto, it ignites a powerful force in the universe. So let's say this great truth with gusto together. There is
only one presence,
one power, active in my life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotent. And that is what we believe and what we know. And so with that, Reverend Maggie, would you give us that gathering prayer?
I would love to. Good morning. Wherever you are, if you're in a safe place now to take a deep cleansing breath and close your outer eyes, I invite you to do so. And I feel such a grateful spirit alive within me this morning, knowing that we are one with the one power, the one presence that is active in the universe and in our life. Affirming that truth, I am able to see clearly. I am able to act with spiritual integrity and experience the fullness of life. I am grateful for the opportunity in every moment, multiple times a day, to choose my thoughts over, to choose again, and choose again, to create and manifest what I wish to see in the outward-facing realm in my life. So I breathe that my life is filled with creativity. I breathe that we are all active in the voice and action of love. and I breathe that divine order is unfolding right now for the highest good in my life, in your life, and for the world at large. Because the one presence and one power is active for our highest good, not only in our lives but the universe, I can relax and enjoy the fullness of what life has to offer. And for that truth and for that knowing and the ability to act in that truth, I am so grateful. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.
Thank you, Maggie. And this is our congregational song, I Am Free, I Am Unlimited, by Janet Bowser Manning.
I am free, I am unlimited. There were no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I'm free, I am unlimited. There were no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. You are free, you are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free, you are unlimited. Right now, right now. You are free, you are unlimited. There are no chains that bind you. You are free, you are unlimited. Right now, right now. We are free, we are unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. They are free, we are unlimited. Right now, right now. We are free, we are unlimited. There are no chains that bind us. We are free, we are unlimited. Right now, right now.
Oh, I love that. And it's so good to sing, you know? And for this June 14th, Reverend Maggie and I are going to talk about Finding Truth in Troubled Times, Part 2. Now, last week, we investigated this on the macro level, on looking at what is this on the whole. And today, we're going to explore, we're going to examine in what does this mean for us on the micro? What does this mean for us right now? And we want to start, just as we did last week, with the incredibly poignant and profound words of our former First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Thank you. Michelle Obama says that race and racism is a reality that so many of us grow up learning to just deal with. But if we ever hope to move past it, it can't just be on the people of color to deal with it. It is up to all of us, black, white, everyone, no matter how well-meaning we think we might be, to do the honest and uncomfortable work of rooting it out. It starts with self-examination and listening to those whose lives are different from our own. It ends with justice, compassion, and empathy that manifests into our lives and onto our streets.
Thank you, Maggie. And I'm so glad we decided to read this again, because the poignant of this, which was on a statement of the harrowing death of George Floyd, that's ignited not just anger and frustration over that incident, but a self-examine, coming into a realization that if there's going to be any change, it has to start with each of us individually. It's not just someone else's job to do. It's not just the celebrity of Michelle Obama being able to say this and boom, it's done. No, this is for all of us to come together and with that self-realization to bring forth what needs to be forgiven, what needs to be acknowledged, what needs to be examined to know how to proceed. Because we know, here in Unity, we know that we're all one. We say it there's only one power in the universe and in our lives, God. If that's true, there's only one. There's nothing else. There's only unconditional love. Fear is just an illusion. But illusions have to be dealt with on the inside. And that's what we're doing.
It is. So last week we did look at the macro level. What is going on and being held within each of our individual beliefs and in our bodies and in our cultures, how that's manifesting into the world. And what I really appreciate about this statement, and I've revisited it a number of times in the last week, is that Michelle Obama is saying it is going to be uncomfortable, but you have got to look at what it is that you actually believe, even if you're unaware of it. And I made reference to that last week. In those things, beliefs, ideas, bad habits that we collect through the course of our lives, and we throw them in our journey basket. And the uncomfortable process of rooting it out, it does start with ourselves. We're seeing that what we believe is such a mix mash that it has come to a head. And where I'm really impressed with the consciousness shift on this human journey as a whole is that it is finally the thing that is waking people up. And I really appreciate those people of color who have been saying and waiting for us not of color to wake up, and the space that's being created, the tools and the resources that are being offered for us to just really get in there. And that's what we're starting to talk about today.
Beautiful. And we again want to call upon the wisdom of Unity Minister Eric Butterworth, who's written many books that have fire under ourselves to know the truth. He says, the attempt to change people is the greatest waste of energy of all. Not because people can't change, but because change is a growth process from within. If we can walk away knowing this, that all the energy we put into telling them how they can change. That might be your boss, might be your neighbor, that might be your partner, that might be your kids, that might be the people who aren't even listening, the people in politics, or whoever owns the sports team that you really love. Have you ever had any effect on changing what those foot players are going to do? No, it's not going to happen by us casting our energy on them. It's going to happen by us changing in us. And a place where we can look at it is, what are we judging? What do we fear? What assumptions? Where have we identified enemy? That's the place we can go within and we can, why do I have such energy around that person? Why do I have such energy around that issue? Because if we can resolve it in us, if we can come to a place of peace, not because we condone the behavior, but because we no longer have a jangle about it, because we're looking at it the same way God looks at it with pure, unconditional love.
This has probably been one of the hardest and longest lessons that I have had to process in learning. Learning to just mind my own business has been a very long, arduous process that has come with a great deal of inner work to get to the level of emotional and spiritual maturity where I can just say, what you think about me is none of my business. And the work that has to go into healing ourselves is what Michelle Obama is talking about in the great discomfort of rooting it out. So here's the old Unity, catchphrase. If you spot it, you got it. That's how I take the guide for where something is rubbing up against, making me feel like reactionary. If I feel like I need to say something snarky or defend or attack or whatever, it is usually because it is always because somebody is reflecting for me something that I need to heal within myself, or I need to accept within myself. Because if I can love it within me, then I can love it within you. And that is a huge part of what is being called for in this embedded systemic racism in our country, is doing that inner work. Not leading by telling someone else how they need to change, but leading by example and being willing to get honest with ourselves and find those places of shame or old beliefs that we carry around in our pockets and sometimes act on. When we can demonstrate and be good leaders, brave leaders, we are empowering others to do the same and validating that they're not going to die because they're hurting. They're not going to lose everything because they're hurting. They're going to move through pain, come to realization, and be able to act clearly. Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, has this wisdom to share. Your thinking truth zealously and affirming it audibly will dissolve error in consciousness and at the same time reveal greater spiritual illumination. Yes. So let me just interpret Charles, having done deep study in his writings and the logic that he applied through developing the core teachings of the Unity movement, is that we have to think and speak and act in congruency, in sameness, in alignment. In other words, to pray one way, to pray and affirm health and healing and wholeness into our bodies and into the world is one thing. To take our thoughts out into the world and maintain the truth of affirming our healing and wholeness is another thing. This is where we usually break down, is in the quiet stillness of our prayer time and meditation time, we can stay centered in truth and we can focus on that. But when you get into the world, into the busyness of your everyday routine, and traffic happens and kids get sick and the dog gets out and, or your boss is giving you a hard time, we start to default to old thinking. And when we do that, we confuse the universe. So what's so powerful about right now is that the numbers, the sheer volume of people that are showing up and now going on 3 weeks of demonstrating are still showing up. They are demonstrating the affirmation, the vision of wholeness, and they're putting it into action in what they say and what they do. And boy, that's a boost for the universe to know we're ready and it's time.
I appreciate that you brought that up because this past week, going to the prayer vigil, it was right here in New Braunfels, it was a call for knowing this truth. When we acknowledge equality that way, if we do it with, well, I guess I kind of maybe think equality, it doesn't do it. But when we zealously, or like I say, with gusto, when we ignite that kind of energy, it literally dissolves those thoughts that don't match with that. Where we've thought superiority, or I'm better than you, or nanner nanner boo boo. All that stuff that when we're children are part of our game playing, we own those things as we mature. And it comes out in weird ways about how someone looks, or how they're driving, or how they're moving their shopping cart, or what they said. We can dissolve those error thoughts in us. Not what we perceive error thought in other people, by claiming the truth. And that's why it's valuable to say our affirmations out loud. And then it's not enough to just speak the truth. It's affirmation to action. It's how do we take what we know is true and then live from that truth. Be able to stand up and say, no. That joke isn't appropriate. Please stop. I welcome you in. Or being able to say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. That's not what I meant. That was the old way of thinking. This is what I affirm to be true. And then change happens. Not overnight and all quickly. It's an evolution. And our truth is evolving. Because what we know is true right now changes as our own consciousness changes. And tomorrow we may not see things the same way as we see them today. It's really a beautiful way to live. And we turn back to Unity Minister Eric Butterworth, who says, truth works, but you must work at it. You must be willing to take a stand, follow a commitment, and even if people do not understand or call you a dreamer, you've got to take a stand on your truth. And this is the value, because as we're finding truth in troubled times, it's ours to identify what is important to me. What's important to you? What do you value? And then from that, allow Spirit to guide you into how to take that into action. That might be writing a letter. It might be not just standing by and listening to crazy Uncle Bob, who says that all the time, and we know that that's what Uncle Bob, he's a crazy one. I don't know about you, but I had a crazy Uncle Bob. We don't have to just sit by and discount it anymore. We can stand up and say, you know, Bob, I see it differently. And I hope you could see this or honor by not saying that when I'm in your presence. Because we're not going to change Bob, but we can change our experience by claiming our truth.
When Okay. What I'm hearing you say is bringing up for me the great risk that we assume and accept when we put our truth on the line. We've probably all got a crazy Uncle Bob, or we've got a colleague or a loved one or a friend or that cannot get with oneness, cannot understand that equality is an inherent right that is intended for all of us. And to manifest that fully, we need to all be acting in that integrity. And family systems are a real thing. They are the system in which we all function at work, in our friends groups, at our church, in our own families. It's the system of operation. And when we step out and say our truth that disrupts the flow of that system, you better be aware that the system will turn on you and do everything in its power to bring you back into what they consider rightful thinking. So if you think about the visual of a baby's mobile, a mobile,
Yes.
right? And it's perfectly balanced. You're part of that perfect balance. And if you take your limb out and say, this isn't okay with me, what happens? This starts to function like this. And because this feels bad to them, they want you to come back so it functions smoothly. Those are the people that will call you a dreamer. Those are the people that will be most uncomfortable with your inner work, your healing, your willingness to think and pray and speak and act your truth. Here's the good news. There are a lot of people who have broken their mobiles. They're out here looking for the next place to plug in and run smoothly in a healthy, fully functional family system. And they're just waiting for you. So when you're speaking and praying and acting, guess what? You will attract those people into your life. Because the truth does work. And we have to be willing to work it, even when we feel cast out, and hold the faith that we will find our next right and new place.
It is so true. And within that, we need to know that there's always others. There's always others who resonate with the same consciousness. And so it's not important for us to change anyone else, but maybe change who we spend time with. And how we feel like we're working our truth courageously and not alone. Because we're in troubled times. And I don't know, maybe it's always troubled times. But right now, we're in troubled times. There's COVID, do I go out, do I not? There's these racial issues, and finally looking into what's white privilege? What is disadvantage? How are minorities or women, or how do people measure up when we look at how does this system that's been working in its way? It's ours to look at the truth and examine what is ours to do right now. Because we don't change when everything's all comfortable and easy. The only time we're willing to change is when things are out of balance, when there is some trouble.
And as we start to wrap up, our final thoughts and wisdom shared by James Dillett Freeman, Unity Minister, is this, this just stuck with me. Thought by thought and only thought by thought. There is no other way we can change ourselves and our direction now. Because everything that is in the manifest realm, had its origin in thought. So breaking it down to that is why James Dillett Freeman shares this with such clarity and intensity. If you want to see it in the outward realm, if you want to experience it in your tangible life, if you want to know what it is to feel wholeness and equality and peace within your soul that is out here in the world, it has to start with your thoughts. It starts with being willing to get honest, being willing to be uncomfortable, and being willing to stay committed to doing the inner work of searching your thoughts, searching your feelings, searching your ideas. And when you find one that's not serving your highest good and the highest good of the world at whole, it's time to bless and release and allow for healing. And when we are able to do that on a massive scale, we will see the change in our outer world. We will change our direction. It's happening. It's happening right now.
It sure is. And one tool that we might choose to use at this time in our lives is to journal, to write down our thoughts, to examine, why do I feel this? Why do I think this way? What's behind this belief that I have? And from that, we can look at, which gives us a way to reflect and see what's true. Because if we look at it as it's simple as a thought, followed by a thought, by a thought, it's just like walking. We learn to walk, and then once we've got it, we know that we put one foot in front of the other. If we put both feet forward, we're either going to hop or we're going to fall down. And although it may not seem like our error thought is as dramatic as is falling flat on our face, it has the same impact because it affects every cell of our being. So our thoughts have power because there's nothing in our life, as Maggie was saying, there's nothing in our life that wasn't first thought. And so if we want to change anything, if we want to arrive at a place where we're feeling safe, centered, loved, loving, peaceful, joy-filled, it's just a thought away. And there's no feeling that we have that is more powerful than love. And all we need do when we identify some old resentment or hurt or pain or anger is just feel the feeling to completion. And then have another thought. Do I want to keep feeling that? And if the answer is no, then what do we want to feel? I want to feel peace. Well, then have peaceful thoughts. And with enthusiasm, with gusto, extend your peaceful thought. Extend your loving thought. Extend your forgiveness. And this is how we can find truth in troubled times, and how that truth can set us free. And so I hope you've been able to receive something from what we've shared today, And I want us to go into this period of meditation in our same way where we allow the unity singers to bring us here into meditation. And that what I'm going to do is read a beautiful affirmation written by co-founder Myrtle Fillmore that has given me a sense of peace and knowing, and will allow that to lead us into a moment of silence. So you might settle, get comfortable, close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and allow this music to bring us to this now moment.
Be still, go deep, what you sow is what you reap. Be it now, one is known, where life's fountain always flow. Be still, be still, be still, and know. Be still, be still. Be still and know. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Be still. Be still, be still, and know.
The radiant life of Christ is my heart's desire. The forgiving love of the Christ now releases all error from my consciousness. I am willing to do God's will in all my ways, and so I'm free from all remorse and secret grieving and sense of weakness. Through my faith in the healing, adjusting power of God the good, divine order is now established in my mind and my body. My heart is filled with love and with the purpose of knowing and doing the truth. The plan which the Holy Spirit of God is unfolding in me is now being fulfilled. And all is well. I know that I can do that which my own soul yearns to do. And I joyously enter upon this self-expression in full assurance that all is well. And with that, we enter the silence. we are eternally grateful for ever increasing awareness of our oneness with God and each other. And it's from this sweet knowing that we resolve to grab a hold of what our truth is and allow it to be the thought that leads us to the next step. And so taking a moment of this time to renew, to refresh, and to allow, we bring whatever we've received into our wakeful knowing as we wiggle our fingers or wiggle our toes to awaken, to be here now. And as we're ready to open our eyes, we resolve to align with this affirmation of truth that complements our talk today. Together, my heart is filled with God's love, and I am neither troubled nor afraid. And we let that to be a guide as we continue to do this Sunday. And as we have come into this moment, we examine what it is that we're grateful for. We examine what this community or what our spirit group or the classes that we attend or this life that we're living in our community. And we examine what it is to bring to this community right now in the form of an offering. Now you can do text to give, you can do the donate button, you can write a check and mail it to the church. Whatever that, let your heart be open to holding a prayer for this community. One of gratitude for the gifts that we receive by our collective consciousness. And let's hold what it is ours to give right now as we do this offering blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you, God.
And we will hold and bless and affirm all of the gifts, all of the givers, all of the intentions and the prayer and the rightful thoughts that are holding the highest vision for this church, for our music team, for our beautiful grounds, volunteers that continue to work, and the staff that is putting our Sunday services together and our schedule of classes and multiple ways to connect. We are grateful for the power that each of you bring into manifesting the truth of our highest vision. And so we say thank you, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Maggie. And now we have this blessing of this song written by Ron Bradsky, "The Truth Will Not Fall."
It's hard to stand up in a crowd when everybody else is sitting down. It's hard to jump into the fight, choose the way you know is right in love. Open your heart, stand up tall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall. The storm is pushing us around, stirring up the darkness, stirring up the crowd. Listen close, heed the call. What's right for one is right for all. Stop, you can hear its call. It will stand up in the strongest wind, brighten up the darkest night. Open your heart, stand up tall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall. The right way is the one that's often hardest to take. It may be keeping quiet, giving truth a say. Every time you make the choice to do the thing that's right, you move a little closer to the light. It will stand up in the strongest wind, brighten up the darkest night. Open your heart, stand up tall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall. Strength is made, the truth will not fall.
Thank you, Unity Singers.
Well, if the strength is made and the truth will not fall, let us affirm one more truth as we end our service and our time together today. Join me in saying the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And with that, thank you for joining us at Unity of New Braunfels. And I invite you to check out our website. Sign up for an e-newsletter, which each week has all the Zoom links and our upcoming events. We've got some new classes, and we've got wonderful opportunities to connect. And right now, there's a Zoom link where you can join us to talk about the talk, make comments, or ask questions. Thank you for joining us today. And in closing, we say
Namaste.